Hello everyone and welcome back to the Crafty Yellow Camper, and today I'd like to show you some new dies. I purchased these a while ago. They're actually from the annual catalogue, the 2022-2023 annual catalogue. They don't actually have a stamp set to go with them. They caught my eye, but I think they may have passed a lot of people by because they don't have a matching stamp set. They're shown on page 17, I think it is, in the annual catalogue, and they've made a couple of cards using them, which are really nice. But as I said, without a matching stamping set, a lot of people may well disregard them, and they're really nice. So I just wanted to show you how to use them, and just a quick idea that I've got for using them. So in the pack, you get these three shapes. So the circle is the one that we're going to be using today. So I'll just bring that up, and can you see all that detail in there? Now these are called pretty pop-up dies for a reason. I will just show you the others close up so you can see. So this is the oval here, this large butterfly on, and then you've got this rectangle which has got a dragonfly on. They've all got foliage, and then in amongst that you also get these flower heads. So there's two that are the same there. This flower head, which is like an echinacea really, or a big daisy, a little butterfly, and then you get a dragonfly which matches the dragonfly on the die we're using, I think, today. Another of those flowers, so there's three there. And another butterfly, a larger one. And I like the fact that Stampin' Up! Have started to do this a lot with their smaller elements. So obviously with three of those that are all identical, you can actually cut three at a time, which means you're not using your arm power quite as much with your cut and emboss machine. Okay, so as I said, this circular one is the one we're going to use today. Now, I haven't tried it, but I am fairly confident that there will be a circle die that will match this, because Stampin' Up! Tend to do that. If there isn't, and you'll see why in a minute, if there isn't, then obviously this has a straight edge all the way around the circle, so you could always draw around it if you do need to cut it out. But I am fairly certain that there will probably be a circle in the circle dies, but I will check that at the end of this video, and I can always add a comment to say if there is and which one it fits. So I'm just going to move those. Oh, sorry, not my phone. Just going to move those out of the way for a minute, and then I'll show you what we're going to do. So we're going to start with a base card in Pale Papaya, and this is half of an A4 sheet cut lengthways. So for those of you in the UK, this is an A4 sheet cut at 10.5 and then scored at 14.8 and folded. For those of you, if anybody does watch, I'm not sure if anyone does from not inside the UK, then obviously that would be half widthways of whatever size cardstock you have in your country or county, or what, you know what I mean. Anyway, so we're starting with the Pale Papaya base. Now, I was going to cut this out in white, and in fact I did start cutting it out in white, and I don't know where I've put it somewhere, with a view to cutting it out properly later. It will appear at some point probably. So you can see that the die cuts all of that detail, so all of this detail that we see on the die, it cuts, but it doesn't cut it out. What you can see, however, and I don't know if I can get it up close enough, there you go, I ran this backwards and forwards through my cut and emboss machine 4 times. So through, back, and that is actually then given us an edge most of the way round. So you could, if you don't have circular dies and ours don't fit, as I said, you could draw around it, or you could use that edge to cut. I think, yeah, I mean, I can sort of slide that back in and it will sort of lock in. I don't know if you're aware of this, but with a lot of our dies, if they slip, or they haven't cut a bit properly, if you turn it over, you should be able to see that it's cut properly. But if it isn't and you need to put it back, you can usually sort of lock them back into place by giving it a little shuffle and trying to get it in the right place, and it'll lock itself back into the lines it's already cut usually. Anyway, so that's what we're going to use today. So I'm just going to pop that to one side so we don't lose that. Actually, I won't remember, so let's just grab my circle dies and see if there is a die. So these are the Layer in Circles framelets. Mine are an old set, so they're in the original packaging. I don't think there is. No. So that answers that question. That is the biggest one. So, which as you can see, is not going to cut that circle out. So back to the drawing board, and I think we need to, if you want to cut it out and have it as a standalone circle, you need to draw around it and cut it out. Or if you have got a set of dies that aren't Stampin' Up dies that do a bigger circle, then obviously use whichever ones you can get as near to that. So I don't know if it'll pick up on the camera, but as I said, I've cut this from white, sparkly white, shimmer white. It doesn't really pick it up on the camera, but because it's so fine, this shimmery white paper is sort of almost got, well, it is glitter, I suppose, sort of in the fabric of the paper, and it's really nice and shiny. As I said, it isn't showing up, but hopefully if you have a go at this at home, you will see. So what I've done is I've pulled out the Stampin' Right markers, the 2021 to 23 Stampin' Right markers. So these will be the colours that are with us until May, end of May next year. This year. No, next year. Ignore me. Next year, 2023. Don't know what year I'm in, clearly. And what we're going to do is we're just going to colour elements of this. So I'm going to move you down a little bit or zoom you in, and hopefully you can see some of the detail there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the, want to use the brush tip end because I find that a little bit easier to control, but it isn't always. Just going to bring this in now. There you go. Now I've zoomed in, you can see the sparkle on that cardstock. Look at that. And then that's the 4 colours that we're going to use today. You can see how that doesn't dull the sparkle at all when we colour over them. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go in with some Pale Papaya, and I'm just going to very carefully, and you are going to have to be very careful because we're going to flick these up. In fact, I'm actually going to put my glasses on. I don't very often unless I'm doing sewing, but what I'm going to do is just very gently with the brush tip end, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing, just adding a little bit of colour to these flowers. So at the moment I'm just doing these ones that have got the 4 little tiny petals. Now how much of this you pop up is really up to personal choice, but you can see that these flowers that I'm colouring in now match those ones that we've got the extra dies for. This is the one that's the sort of daisy head. So if you didn't want to pop them up, but you did want to raise some bits up, you've got the options with those little dies that come in the set. And I don't want to colour the whole thing in, I just want to add a little bit of colour so it's not just the shimmery white, although I do quite like white on white, but we'll have a little bit of colour this time. So as I said, just very gently with the top of the brush tip end. Oh, there's another one there. Okay, so I'm literally just stroking those petals with the end of the brush tip, and we're going to flick them up. So right, okay, now so that was Pale Papaya, which is what our base card is. Now I'm going to come in with Fresh Freesia, which is this colour here, and I'm just going to do I think I'll do this butterfly here. I just want to add a little bit of colour to this card so it's not quite so plain. The Stampin' Write markers contain exactly the same ink as the ink pads, so it's water-based. So you can actually use them to ink up your stamps if you've got small areas or you want to ink one stamp in multiple colours. They come in handy for that. Again, use the brush marker end and use the side of it. Right, I just realised I'm probably out of screen. Okay, so I'm going to do this larger butterfly here now. And I'm just trying to be careful not to actually get the ink outside of the bit that's going to pop up, because otherwise it's going to look a mess. Let's hope I can manage it. So the only drawback to the Stampin' Write markers is that they don't flow quite as nicely as the blends do. There you go. Hopefully I've zoomed you in close enough that you can see. And then what I will do is, if I need to, I can just flick up the edges to add a bit more colour. So I'm going to go in with, back in with my Pale Papaya on that larger butterfly there, because I don't want too much of the same pink and purple. And so just trying to avoid going over the edges. And then I've got my soft succulent pen, and I'm just going to add a little bit of detail to those leaves, and I'm just literally following the shape, because we are going to pop some of these leaves up. Obviously, if you're going to post this card, it will get a little bit flattened in the post, but hopefully the recipient will see that they've been popped out, as it were, and realise that they need to pop them back up again. Or you could put a note in with it if you're sending it in the post, but I think this is probably a card that's best gifted by hand, where it's not going to get sent through the post office's sorting rollers. Okay, I'm just going to add a bit of colour here. As I said, I'm not going to colour the whole thing in, because it's nice to have some bits that are shimmery, just the shimmery white. Okay, right, and we've got that one last dragonfly, and I do feel like he needs a little bit of colour, but a dragonfly's wings are usually iridescent, which the shimmer will be good at, and I'm just wondering what I can use in order to get a paler colour on there. And I've just actually realised that I own 2 sets of the 2022 to 2024 markers. I'd obviously not put them in the right place, thought I hadn't ordered them, and clearly I did. So I have 2 sets. How lucky am I? That's what happens when you've been a demonstrator for as long as I have, which is coming up for 10 years. I'm sure there are a lot of people that have been longer than me, and you don't always put everything away where it should go, so then you look and think, oh no, I haven't actually got those. So there you go. Always check your stash before you put an order in. Okay, so I'm just using the Tahitian Tide here to very gently give that dragonfly's wings a bit of colour. Dragonflies, as I said, always make me think of iridescent or purpley and blue. So, and we've already used Fresh Freesia, which is the purple. So we'll go in with some Tahitian Tide and have blue. And again, I'm just trying to colour it in without getting the edges, or going over the edges, I should say. Right, okay, I think that will do. Just wondering whether to add a little bit of the Parakeet Party in. Let's just give that a scribble on R. I've got my scrap here. If you're not sure what the colours are going to look like, grab a scrap of the same cardstock, and then you can give them a scribble, and there you go. Look, you can then see what they're going to look like. Okay, so sometimes less is more. I think I'm going to leave that, actually. I quite like it like that. So let's just put those away, out of the way. And I'll pop the other ones back in. So as I said, there are 4 colours out of the 2021 to 23 colours. And then what I'm going to do is show you, I'm just going to take my glasses off. Just going to show you how to flick those ends up. So I've got my take your pick tool here. And if you undo, oh, sorry, where have I gone? There. Sorry, I'm going to zoom you back out again, I think. Oh, actually, no, I won't, because you won't be able to see. If you undo the poker tool end, that's the one that I use most, so that's the one that's usually there. But if you unlock it and pull it out, put it back in the other way round, there is this little spatula end. And that is really quite good for, oh, I've got something on the edge there, for picking up the edges of these things. So if you just very gently, I'll just show you a bit of it, with your fingers underneath, and then just use the spatula end to very gently fold up. Now, one thing you are going to have to be careful of when you actually glue this to the front of your card, or use dimensionals, whatever your fixing of choice is, not to put glue behind the raised bits or behind the, or put dimensionals behind the raised bits. If you put dimensionals behind the raised bits, they're going to show through. If you put Tombow wet glue behind, it's going to stay sticky. Tombow dries sticky so that it can be repositioned. Right, so you can see I don't need to do all of that. We're just going to pop up some of it. There you go. And then we can just pop up some of these leaves as well. And it really makes the job ever such a lot easier using this spatula attachment. Okay, just do these ones because we did the ones at the top. Now I'm probably bending them up a little bit more than I actually need to, but I want to make sure that I can see behind and don't get any of the adhesives or whatever I use to fix it. So again, if you're using double-sided tape to fix this, make sure you don't get it behind, because again, it will stay sticky, and worst case scenario, you could end up sticking it to the inside of your envelope. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that last one up. If you don't have one of these take your pick tools, I would suggest you get one, because they are absolutely brilliant. They're the other end, this end is a putty end, which you can get replacement putty bits for, and they are really good for picking up sequins and gems. Okay, so that's what I'm going to pop up for the time being. I am actually going to put dimensionals on the back of this, I think, which will just give it a little bit more oomph. So we will just do that. Okay. And at this point, I am going to zoom you back out if it'll let me. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just taking the backs off these dimensionals. As I said, this card won't be posted. It'll be gifted by hand. Okay, and then decide which way up you want it. So I quite like to have my dragonfly on the left. So I'm going to open up, offer up that to my card. Just make sure it's central. Now you can see I've made a bit of a boo-boo here, a little bit of a smudge. So sometimes it will come off with a good old Tombow mono rubber. Doesn't seem like it's going to shift. So my secret weapon is bling, and we all need bling in our life. So these are the Fine Sparkle Adhesive Back Gems. And I'm pretty confident that that is Pale Papaya. That looks like either Pool Party or Coastal Cabana. No, maybe not. Balmy Blue, maybe. And these look very much like Mint Macaron, but they will work equally as well with the Soft Succulent, I think. Okay. Oh, and before we do that, actually, we're just going to do another trick with the pens. So just to add a little bit more colour, I always forget about this. We are going to take our Stampin' Write marker. I'm using the blender pen end again. I'm going to take the lid off, and I'm just going to flick it, just to get some splatters. to add a bit of texture, and equally that then covers up that smudge we had, sort of blends it in. So there's our little bit of splatter there. Let's put that away. And then I'm just going to open up our gems, and I'll add a few of these just to add a little bit of something sparkly. I think I might have been a magpie in a previous life. I do love a bit of sparkle. Oh, look at that. Didn't notice that under there. Ah, now that looks very much like sweet sorbet. So maybe these are sweet sorbet. No, wrong pink. Unless that's polished pink. Pale papaya. That's not the right... I mean, it almost looks like Tahitian Tide. And that green, like I said, looks like mint macaron. So maybe they aren't a set of in colours and they're just random colours. But I'm going to turn my spatula end back in. Lock it again so it doesn't come off in my hand and stab me. And I'm just going to add a few of these gorgeous little gems just dotted about. Always go for odd numbers when you're doing a little bit of dotting around. Where should we put that one? I'm going to put that one there, I think. There. So that was quite simple and easy to make. A little bit of colouring, a little bit of flipping up, tiny bit of die cutting, and a little bit of blingage. So, and I don't know if I can get it up, the glimmer up. And then I managed to get it to show on that scrap so you could see it, but nope, it's not going to play ball today. So there we go. There's our card. So don't forget, don't overlook those pretty pop-up dies, because other than that, as well as that circular one, which is refusing to go back where it should be in my bag, you've also got this rectangular, this oval, and then these gorgeous little butterflies, dragonfly, and flowers. So hope you like the card. That's it for me for today, and I will see you again very soon. Thanks for watching. Happy stamping. See you soon. Bye for now.